Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Night Live with independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Teresa Harper. I'm located in Oregon in the US of A. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to be working with some new product tonight. So we'll get started here in a minute. Let's check and see who we have on. And then we'll get started. Let's see if I can find some comments. And here we go. It's not going to show me. Okay, let's do it this way. All right, I think this will work. Show me that. Yep, and there we are. All right. The live chat up. Oh, that's looking a little crooked. Let's see if I can fix that. Let's see. Which way do I need to go? Did I make it worse? Did I make it better? Oh, definitely better. Could go a little bit more. Let's see. Let's go. Oh, no, maybe I didn't make it better. Maybe I made it worse. Oops, let's see. Okay, let's see what happens now. Hello, Cynthia. I'm not sure. There we go. Yay. Okay. That should be good. That looks good. Nice and straight. Okay. Whew. Getting things set up can be. Hello, Tracy. Thanks for joining. Tonight we're using Impressions of Bloom. This is one of the online exclusives for May that was released last week on Tuesday. So it's been out just 1 week, and we're going to do a little bit of playing with this. For those of you who attended the monthly crop, you were able to use this set and make a card. And now we're going to make a fun fold tonight, as well as a simpler card, you know, relative to me, simpler. I know you're laughing. Okay, so I was challenged the other night by one of my friends. She showed me this card and she said, "Hey, I want to make this card. How do you make it?" She couldn't find a tutorial and she didn't have any idea the measurements on how they had done it. So I sat down and made myself a template for the card. And this was the fold that she was trying to make. So I figured it out, and well, I figured it out for how I would do it. Whether that's actually how they did it, I don't know. But we're going to make this card tonight, and it opens like this. So this is our fun fold. I've made myself a template, and we're going to get started on that. And we're going to be using Impressions of Bloom. This is a 17-piece photopolymer stamp set. I've done a lot. I like to keep my extra pieces in a clear medium envelope in my case. And then I've got my Impressions of Bloom dies. This has 25 dies. You can tell there are a lot missing because we're going to be using those tonight, so they are not here. And let's go ahead and get started. Okay? I should probably not set that too far away because then I won't be able to find it when I need it, right? Because that happens to me all the time. In addition to that, we're going to be using the butterfly from Spotlight on Nature. If you have this in your collection already, great. If you don't, and you're not interested in this, there is a brand new stamp set that was released last week that also has a beautiful butterfly image in it that will work. In fact, this is the image that I used on my sample. And then I decided that I was going to go ahead and use this butterfly. I don't know. I just love this butterfly, and I thought the body of this butterfly fit our image better than this butterfly. So coneflower celebrations, if you're more interested in that and you don't already have Spotlight on Nature, or find a butterfly in your stash, of course. Always use what you have on hand. And then I'm going to bring in the Everyday Arches for this sentiment. You are simply fantastic. This sentiment set, Everyday Arches, as well as the Arched Wishes stamp set, actually lends its way very well with the Impressions of Bloom dies. So I'm going to show you how that works tonight, because I discovered that on my own. All right. So there's a lot of stamping, and fortunately I did most of it ahead of time. Let's start with our card base. This is Pool Party two-tone cardstock. Okay, I've got the two-tone. It's a 12 by 12 sheet is how you get it. And we have the two-tone cardstock now in all of our colors. So I'm going to be using the Pool Party. The base for our card is going to be the darker Pool Party to start. You will be able to see both sides, but the main side is going to be the dark, because that is how the two-tone cardstock works. We're going to be working quite a bit with two-tone cardstock tonight. So let's bring in our Simply Scored. Hello, Jennifer. Let's bring in the Simply Scored tool. I didn't cut this down. I need this to be 11, not 12. So we need a piece that is 5.5 by 11. Okay. And I had forgotten to cut that. It's a good thing I saw that before I started scoring, because that would have really thrown me off. And we'll set this aside for another time. We don't need that tonight. So let's bring this down to where it's more in the picture for you. And we're going to take this 5.5 by 11. So the 11-inch side at the top of your board, the 5.5-inch side we're not scoring on. Okay, so we're at the top here. We're going to score this at 1.5, 5 3/4, and 9.5. Okay, pretty simple so far. 1.5, 5 3/4, 9.5. Okay. Put our Simply Scored tool away. Okay, so I want this to be the outside of my card, and that is why I scored on this side. So I'm going to take and I'm going to fold on this score line. And remember, we take our valley score to a mountain fold. Then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to fold this in. Okay, so again, I turned that valley score into a mountain fold. Now with this one, we're also going to do that same thing. And we're going to score this back like so. Okay. All right. So there is the basis for our fold right there. Pretty simple. All right. Now let's bring in some Designer Series paper and we'll start adding that. Our Designer Series paper today comes from where did I put it? I hit it apparently. This is the Floral Impressions Designer Series paper. You get 6 sheets, 2 each. You get 12 sheets in total, 6 sheets with 2 double-sided designs. So this is the front and the back. The front and the back. Front and back. All right. This paper is gorgeous. Okay, and that is our designs. Okay, so we need, I've taken a 5-inch by 5 3/8 inch piece of Designer Series paper. Okay, so originally I cut this at 5 inches, 5 by 5 3/8, and then I cut off 1 1/4 inches. Now, because of the way this folds up, that leaves you with 3 5/8 here, which is what you should need. But 3 5/8 is just a titch too long, so you'll have to cut a 1/16 off of that in order for this to fit where it needs to fit because of the folds. So we're going to put this piece right here. All right. This piece is going to go here. And again, there's the reverse of that design, just a plain, basic, everyday pattern you can use for anything. All right. So we're going to put this right here. And center that up. Now you could do this with a larger border, but I went with a 1/8 inch border all the way around, or a 1/16 all the way around. I cut this down 1/8 of an inch from the actual size. Okay, so now we've got that one on, and now we need to add our piece to here. I'm going to open this up because I find it easier to put it on that way. And then we'll add this right here. Okay. So far we've got those 2 pieces. Also from that same Designer Series paper, I've taken 2 pieces of the sunflower design paper, but I'm using the back side of that, what we call the B sides, in the pool party. And this piece is going to go here, and this piece is going to go here, and this one looks like I didn't cut it. Okay, so let's trim that up because for some reason that's not cut at 5 3/8. What did I cut? I don't know what that's at, but it's definitely not 5 3/8. It's well over, it's a little over 5 1/2. Okay. Must have been when my eyes were all crooked because I was tired at 1:30 this morning. All right, so we're going to put these 2 here. Right? Let's just make sure I'm doing this right. Yep, that's what I did. Okay. Not that it would really matter. I mean, you can put this Designer Series paper however. You don't even have to use Designer Series paper. You could leave that open and just enjoy that plain pool party if you wish. Okay, whoops, come on. Let's get that in here. And then I'm going to open this because this is where I'm going to put this. And again, these pieces are 1 1/4 by 5 3/8. They're the same size as that front flap piece was, that first one. So if you were going to use the same pattern, you would need 3 pieces that were 1 1/4 by 5 3/8. Okay, now before we go any further with this, I want to do some stamping right here. So I'm going to pull out some Pool Party ink. And I'm going to grab my scrap paper. Well, actually, I'm not using my scrap paper because I decided that was kind of unnecessary. So now you can see the lighter of the two-tone cardstock here. I'm going to take our image from the Floral Impressions Bloom, or the Impressions of Bloom stamp set, and I'm going to stamp that in there. And then I'm going to grab a, no, that's the wrong one. Oops. This, and we are going to randomly stamp some images in here. And then we're going to get the smallest floral. And we're just going to fill that in a bit. Okay? So that's going to be our inside panel there. Now let's go ahead and wipe down our mat because I know I got some Pool Party there and I don't want it where it shouldn't be. Okay, so far this is what we have. Okay, now we're going to set that aside and we're going to start doing our stamping. So I'm going to bring in some basic white here, and I'm going to need to clean those stamps we just used. I did not get this one wet like I should have, but it's damp enough, it'll work. Just want to make sure I don't have any Pool Party where I don't want it. Okay, pretty sure I got all those now. All right. Okay, so let's bring in this particular flower here. I struggled with the color matching of this. The colors that are in the paper say they are Crushed Curry, Darling Duckling, Fresh Freesia, Garden Green, Misty Moonlight, Old Olive, Peach Pie, Pecan Pie, Pool Party, Pretty in Pink, and Strawberry Slush. And this particular flower is none of those colors. So I did a ton. Hello, Laura. Spotlight on Nature. I'm not sure, Tracy, whether that's still available as a bundle or not. I don't think so. I tried Blackberry Bliss Full Strength with the detail die, and then Petunia Pop Full Strength, and that was too dark. I tried Petunia Pop and Berry Burst. I tried Blackberry Bliss and then Berry Burst Stamped Off. This is Berry Burst, so first generation on the detail and a light on the background. And you can tell that none of these are that color, right? So I also tried Berry Burst with a Petunia Pop second generation. Didn't quite cut it. Petunia Pop with Pretty in Pink. Didn't work. Just Petunia Pop, first generation, second generation, and that didn't work. And I had also made a flower that was Strawberry Slush and Pretty in Pink. Those didn't match either. So what I finally decided I had to do was take a second generation of Blackberry Bliss. Let me get these out of the way because we don't need those. So in order to match that color, I'm going to take a second generation of Blackberry Bliss. And a second generation of Petunia Pop. And then I'm going to come pretty close to what I'm looking for. And I like to line this long petal here. Line that up. It's pretty forgiving. Okay, and we've got that. All right. So this, even at this, is not quite the color that we need. However, when we add a wink of Stella to this, and swirl that around and mix those two colors, then we get a pretty close representation of that color when everything dries. Okay, so we've got this flower. Now the rest of the flowers are pretty simple. We didn't have to do any color mixing. We're going to take crushed curry. I got a spot on there I don't like. Crushed curry and Daffodil Delight. And again, I'm going to take those long finger pieces. Oh, I think I need to stamp this off. Maybe I don't. I guess we're going to find out here in a minute if it's too dark. Let's see. Hang on. Boop. Boop. I think I need to turn it this way. Yep. Nope. See, that doesn't work. It's too dark. So you need crushed curry and a stamped off Daffodil Delight. Or Darling Duckling, actually. That's what this is. Darling Duckling, one of the new in colors. Okay, so we're going to stamp that off. Did I do it the other way? Maybe I did. Hang on. Oh, what did I do? I know I use these colors, you guys. It's crazy. Well, let's see. I'm going to get it figured out. So you can recreate it. Because that's important. Okay. There we go. Darling Duckling is the dark. And crushed curry is the lighter of the two. Stamped off. There we go. Now we've got our flower. You'd think I know what I did just a few hours ago. Good grief. Okay, and then we need, for our final flower, we're going to do Pool Party and Misty Moonlight. Or Pool Party. Pool Party, just Pool Party. Misty Moonlight goes in the center. Okay. So we're going to take this one, stamp that, and then we're going to take our pool party again, line that up. There we go. Stamp off, and there we go. Okay, so you need one in the Blackberry Bliss Petunia Pop, one in Darling Duckling with crushed curry, and then Pool Party. Now, for the centers of these, I did Misty Moonlight for the small flower. So I'm going to take this small full detail or fill in, stamp it off, and put that in the center. And then I'm going to take the detail stamp and put that in full strength right over the top. Okay? So that is that one. For the yellow flower, we're going to do a stamped off crushed curry. And I need to clean those small little center pieces that I just used in the blue, and because we don't want blue in our yellow, because then we'll have a green center. So I'm going to take and stamp off and stamp that in. And then we're going to take pecan pie and we're going to stamp that over the top. Okay. For the large flower center, we're going to use pecan pie as the background. So we're going to ink that up, stamp that off, and then we're going to add some Blackberry Bliss. And it's funny, but when you look at that, you really can't even tell that's Blackberry Bliss when you combine it with the pecan pie. Okay. Then we need to cut all of these out. I'm going to show you how I did that. In the die set, you can cut just the outline die. Okay. Let me get this. So you can't, this isn't even the right one. Yep, let's get the flower that's the right one. So you can take the outline die and line this up. Find those two long petals. Okay. So then you line this up. Tape that down. And then take this centerpiece and find this one that has the three little things. It's the easiest way to do this. Lay that in there like so. Get it in there. Take yourself a piece of tape and tape those together. Okay? And then you would do that for all of these flowers, for all three flowers. using the appropriate dies. I already have them taped together. Okay. And then when you're done, you have these. Okay. Let's set those aside. All right. That die set also has these two dies. And so I've cut them in garden green. And this is going to be our focal piece. Also included in that die set are some ovals. Where did I put that? Of course, I buried it again. So you have this large oval, and I've cut one of these in white. And then this one has dots. So I've cut one of these in Misty Moonlight, and it will cut out the center part plus a frame here. And so you will need one of these in white and one in Misty Moonlight, or if you don't want to cut Misty Moonlight, just cut one in white and use your Misty Moonlight Stampin' Blend on the white piece to color it Misty Moonlight. I'm going to be using both of these because I want to have them back to back like so. Okay, so let's go ahead and stamp this piece with our sentiment. And I already have that on my stamp positioning tool. So what I did to do that was I put this in my stamp positioning tool just like that. And then I took a grid paper. And then I took the sentiment, "You are simply fantastic," and I lined it up, and it doesn't look like it's lining quite like I want it. Like maybe it's moved. So I guess we'll be doing this again. Okay, so just take this. This is its natural state. And then I wanted this to start up here. So I'm going to put that there. And then I'm going to carefully bend this. Oh, that's why it wasn't working. I forgot to do this first, you guys. It would have been perfect. But I did it wrong. So here we go. Let's fix this real fast so you'll know how to do it from scratch. Take your Misty Moonlight piece here and get your silicone sheet, and you could cut this with an adhesive sheet, but I want to be able to move mine around. Okay, there we go. So let's get some glue on here. Remember, dot, dot, dot. A little goes a long way with Tombow. Okay, so now we'll take this and we'll take that other oval. I guess they call them modern oval. And we're going to lay this down on here and line that up and press it down. Okay. And I want to do this first because I don't want to put my sentiment and then stamp my sentiment on there and then have my edging cover up part of my sentiment. So now let's bring this back in. This card's going to take a long time. Sorry about that. Okay, so now I'm going to take that. I've got it all in here. I've got the flat side of the oval flat up against the edge there. That way I know it's nice and straight. I like to use a grid so that I can stamp and see if it's what I want it to be. So I'm going to put this in here. The other thing that this grid does is because it's plastic, it holds this stamp where I want it. Okay, so now I can put that there and see when I lift my hands, it doesn't go anywhere. If I did that just on the paper, it would lift up. Okay, so now I can take this, put this back on here, take my Misty Moonlight ink pad, ink that up, and then I can stamp it down. And because I'm stamping on that plastic, I can see how that's going to look, and I can adjust it accordingly if I want to. But I think I'm going to be happy with that, so let's go ahead, set that aside. We'll ink this up again. Make sure that stays in place. And now I've taken the sentiment that was perfectly sized for the Arches dies and used it with the Impressions of Bloom dies. Okay, I'm going to stamp that one more time. Before I set that down, I'm going to make sure that lines up perfectly. Make sure that's totally flat. This is flat against the bottom. And when I go to set this down, everything should line up accordingly. And there we have our sentiment perfectly sized. Dropped it right in the ink. That's okay. We're going to cover that up anyway. So let's set this aside. Get that out of our way. Now, I didn't like the way the back of this looked. So I'm going to take another one of that same size label, modern label, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to adhere that to this one. And then I'm going to take a white one of these. Let me close that ink pad. That is a disaster waiting to happen. Won't get that quite on there straight, but it'll be okay. You won't even know it by the time I get done. I hope. Okay. Now let's go ahead and, where did I set those tweezers? Clear over here. Silly me. They're not doing me any good over there. Okay, then we'll set this back down. Line it up with the Misty Moonlight one. Okay, let's move that down. Got liquid glue, so we've got a minute or two to move it to make sure that we don't have any white sticking out from the back. Yeah, I got a titch. I don't know why that blue is moving, but it is. Okay. Whoops. Because I keep pulling it up. Let's give that a good burnish. Might need to have a little more glue. Okay, let's set this aside to dry. Well, actually we can't because we need to get on with our piece. So let's put this down. Now we're going to add this down here, but this is going to be too long because we need to make sure that we can put our flowers on our piece and not bump into our sentiment. Okay, so that looks pretty good right there. So I need, about that much cut off. But let's go ahead and put some glue on here. And here, I'm just going to put a little bit of glue here and a bit there and like one little dot on the stem. I'm going to take this piece, stick it down here about like this. Okay. Then I'm going to take this leaf, and this leaf is going to be too long for what I want. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to snip it right here. Be careful though, because I want to keep this leaf, which is not cooperating very well here. Okay, there we go. So I've got this piece, and then I've got this piece that sticks out a little bit. I don't like that. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to round that edge so it looks a little bit more natural. Okay, and then we're the only ones that will know I did that. Now we're going to take this piece and line it up like so. So for this, I'm going to take that liquid glue and we'll put a little bit of glue here and here, here, and leave most of that leaf free. And I'm going to make it look like it lines right up to that stem and angle it slightly. Okay, so I've got that. Then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to place it down here and add it on top of that stem. Like so. Okay. Then I'm going to come in with my scissors and I'm going to turn that over and trim it from the back. And there we are. Now all we need to do is add our flowers. And we're going to do all of that with glue dots. Okay. Let's go ahead and turn those over. I'm going to get my Take Your Pick tool. I'm going to put glue dot in the center here. And then I'm going to stack that, double stack it. This kind of has what I call a bald spot. So I'm going to hide that. So I'm going to put this flower right there, tuck it into those letters, and between the M and the PLY and tuck that in right there. Then I'm going to take 1, 2, I'm going to take a triple stack of glue dots, and I'm going to put that like so. And then we're going to take another glue dot, stick in the center here. Oh, good. I'm glad it shows as a bundle. Hello, Laura. If I didn't say hello already, then I'm just going to take this one and I'm going to stick this right here in this section where there's a flat spot. And we're just going to put that right there. Okay. And then we're going to add this to our card. Okay. Now, remember, this is what we're using to open this, so we can't put any adhesive there. Our adhesive has to go only on this section here and only on the part that overlaps. So we're going to take a look at that. And we're going to turn this over. And right at the edge, I'm going to put 2 strips of Stampin' Seal. And then I'm going to bring this back in. I'm going to bring it down just down below center. I'm going to give that a gentle press so that I can open it up to make sure that I don't have any adhesive here, and then I'll give it a good press. Okay, now I know that I have my adhesive where I want it, and everything is going to look good. All right, so we are almost done here. We need an inside panel, and we need something to hold this shut. So I tried ribbon, and I didn't like it. So my solution was to take a piece of cardstock, take the flower of the butterfly, and this one again is from Spotlight on Nature, and I'm going to use Secret C ink here. This is one of the brand new 25 to 27 in colors, and I'm going to stamp that in the Secret C. Okay. And then I'm going to color it with some blends. And I'm going to use Dark Misty Moonlight, Dark Cloud Cover, Light Cloud Cover, and then Light Pool Party. Okay. So this is the order that I colored in. And when you're finished, it looks like this with a little bit of Wink of Stella. Now, there's no dye to this. You have to fussy cut it. So if you don't like fussy cutting and you want the coneflower celebrations, the butterfly in that does have a dye. You wouldn't have to fussy cut. And then I'm just going to take this and some Stampin' Dimensionals. I'm going to take 2 of them. And out on the wings, or out to the edges, that's where I'm going to put my, in fact, this one needs to go a little further out, like that. Okay, I want this body area open. And I'm going to take my butterfly And I'm going to butt that up right there like so. And now you see why I liked this butterfly. That body fits right at the curve of that die cut, and now my card is not going anywhere. Okay. To finish this off, we're going to take the iridescent faceted gems. And I have pretty much finished the package, so it's time to open a new one. And we're going to put a couple of these, 3 of these. Take your pick tool and put one here. Put another one here. And then I'll take one of the larger ones and stick it right there. Okay. And there you have it. There is our fun fold. Stays closed. And when you open it, it looks like this. Now for this piece here, you'll take a piece of 4 by 5 1/4 inch cardstock. I stamped in Misty Moonlight. I stamped first generation, then second generation. I masked, and then I stamped the leaves in Garden Green first and second generation. And I'm going to add this to the inside of my card. And this card is finished. I was thinking that was looking a little, oh no, I guess it is the right size. It just looked a little big. Okay, so there you have it. Cute fun fold. Sorry that took a whole hour. Okay, so do you want to see the second card? I have most of the work on it done. So we could just put it together. So let me know what you want to do, and we will do it. Okay. I'm waiting. Second card? Or do you need to run? Oh, thanks, Tracy. Thanks, Laura. Okay, second card. Let's go. Let's just do it. The second card, we're using Old Olive, Daffodil Delight, and Bubble Bath. And these ink pads are only for the inside because the whole outside of our, oh, and we need Petunia Pop. The whole outside of our card is no stamping except for the sentiment. So I'll show you how I did this. And it features the same Stamp and Die bundle. We're using the right words, and Stampin' Up! Did put out today that this is the most popular single stamp set right now that they're selling. Okay, so we've got that. I've got the stylish shaped dies, which should be a staple in your arsenal there in your collection. Thank you, Cynthia. And then I'm using the plaster painting 3D embossing folder. Okay, like I said, I've got a lot of this done. We've got a Petunia Pop card base. This is standard cardstock, 8.5 by 11, folded at 4 1/4. Okay, then I've taken a piece of the two-tone cardstock in Petunia Pop. This piece is 4 by 5 1/4. I've run this through the plaster 3D embossing folder, making sure that I hit this side because I wanted that texture on the side of my card on the outside. Okay, so we're going to add that to our card. And I'm going to do that with some liquid glue because It's a 3D embossing folder. So let's go ahead and add that on. Okay. And we'll add this like so. Flip that to the inside, give that a good burnish so that that glue holds everywhere I want it to. Okay. Then you'll need, from the Stylish Shapes dies, I've cut out of this exact same cardstock, but on the opposite side, on the light colored side. Let me grab that. This is how I bought my two-tone cardstock, you guys. I got, like this is Memories in Bloom two-tone cardstock pack, because you get 2 sheets. In most of them, you get 2 sheets of different colors. And so that's how I got mine, just so I could try it out. So this is the two-tone piece that we used here. And then when you flip it over, it looks like this. You've got the contrast, okay? So I cut those Stylish Shapes dies, and what I cut was I cut the 3rd, 4th, and 5th largest. So I skipped the first 2, and then I used the next 3 to cut those. And these are going to go right on here. Okay. So we can go ahead and add these. I want to put this kind of down here and this one up here a bit. I don't want them to be exactly even or lined up, but I want room for my sentiment, which I'm going to put about here. Okay. So let's go ahead and add these. Like so. And again, I'm using liquid glue because I'm on a 3D embossing folder. Okay, so we've got that. Then I've taken Coastal Cabana, and I've taken those dies that I have taped together and ran them through at the same time, and I've got that. I did this one in Daffodil Delight, and the largest one I did in Bubble Bath. Okay, simple die cutting. Then for the flower centers, I took the large one, and the easiest way to put these two together is to lay this down with the cut side up, put your tape across the back, lay that up. I used my tweezer and I laid that onto the tape. Okay, I did the same thing with the little die. Okay, so for that I cut one in Petunia Pop to go in the center of this flower. I cut one small one in Coastal Cabana to go in yellow. And I cut one in Daffodil Delight to go in the Coastal Cabana flower. Okay. Then I took these two die leaves, and as you can see from these, they face different directions. Okay. So you've got one that goes right and one that goes left. Highly detailed. If you have trouble getting your paper out of these dies, run these dies through on a piece of wax paper and cut, and then pull that wax paper out. That'll put a little bit of wax on there, and then your paper, your cardstock will release. Okay, just a little tip there for you. And then what I did was I cut some in, I took the old olive two-tone cardstock, and I cut some in the dark side and some in the light side, so that I could mix and match my leaves. Okay. And I've cut way more than I need, because if I want a dark on the bottom and a light on top, or the opposite, I wanted to be able to do that. So I cut 8 leaves. We really only need 4. And then let's start assembling. But before we put these on, what do we got to do? We've got to add Wink of Stella, because we have to have some shimmer and shine. And I need to probably give that a push and then hope it doesn't overflow on my project. So to make this, you just take and push. Get that out of the way in case it makes a big puddle. When you see that it's released some stuff at the bottom, and then just be careful, because it could put a big blob on your paper. And then I'm just going to do that. Add that to the cardstock here. I'm not being precise at all. I'm just putting it on. Okay, there we go. Now let's get these out of the way before we lose them. We'll add glue dots are your friend here. And hopefully I have enough glue dots to last. So I'm just going to put all of my flower centers on a glue dot. Okay. Then we'll add Petunia Pop to Bubble Bath. Daffodil Delight to Coastal Cabana. And Coastal Cabana to Daffodil. And I took these colors off of the color wheel. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and add these with a dimensional right in the center, just one. And I'm actually going to use a mini for this one, because if I don't, I won't have room for my leaf. Okay, so I'll just put that one right there. All right, so we've got that. Now we'll add these to our circles. So we'll do, I'm going to put that like that. We'll put this one right here like that. And this little one goes down in the corner here. Now, typically, we should have a light leaf on top of a dark leaf, but I want my dark leaf to be opposite of my light leaf. So I'm going to take, this is why I cut multiples, so I didn't have to think ahead of time. And what I don't use here, I'll use on another project. So I'm just going to take a glue dot at the bottom, put these two together like so. Then take another glue dot and then I'm going to push these underneath those petals. Okay, and I didn't push it down hard. I'm leaving it. Now for this one, I think I'm going to take a dark leaf, and I think I want my dark leaf to go in the opposite direction. But I want this leaf to look smaller because my flower's smaller. So that's not going to fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this first. Put your glue dot there. Okay. Then take your paper snips, and because of all these lines, we're going to snip that. But because I put my glue dot, now I don't have to worry about pulling that off the sheet when I have it shortened and more cuts for it to open. Okay, just a little trick I learned. And then we're going to stick that. Actually, I want this one to go a little bit more up. Again, I didn't push it. I didn't really push it down, but it kind of stuck. Okay, there we go. All right, we got it. Got it back up. Push that back like that. I want this one to go up a little bit higher, like so. There we go. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing with the smaller one, but this one is going to be way too big. So we basically want mostly the tip of this. So I'm going to put my glue dot in about the center and lift that off and cut that. Get that off my finger so it doesn't rip the leaf. And then I can tuck that in right there like that. Okay, so the only thing that we have left for the front is the sentiment strip, and we need a little bit of embellishment, and then this card front is finished. Okay, so we're going to take a piece of bubble bath cardstock. Okay, we don't need very much of this. But we're going to take I pulled the sentiment from Impressions of Bloom. Doesn't have, I guess it has a couple sentiments, but they're pretty big, and that's not what I wanted. So I went into the Right Words, this new stamp set that just released, and I pulled out Sending Good Vibes. Okay, so I'm going to take Sending Good Vibes, and I'm going to stamp this. I'm going to stamp this way to give myself a little bit of extra room. And I'm going to stamp that on Bubble Bath. And I'm going to take a Stylish Shape die. I tried all the dies from More Messages and they didn't fit what I wanted, so I'm going to make this fit because you know I do that all the time. So let's grab a piece of tape. And I'm going to take this banner piece and I'll line that up. Set that down. Then we're going to bring in the mini machine. And I'm going to alter the size of this like I like to do when it doesn't fit. So I'm just going to put my plate 1, plate 2, paper, sentiment. I'm going to put plate 2 over the top, but not all the way. Only down until about the E on Vibes. And then I'm going to run that through. Anything past here will not cut. Shot out the back. Let me move this out of the way for a second. I'm going to turn this around. Pull that up. And then I'm going to take this die, put it where I want it. I'm going to set it back into that groove. Oh, come on. Why does it never want to go back in the groove on a live? Oh, there it went back in the groove, but not where I wanted it. Okay, so feel around, and those teeth should lock right back into that spot, okay? And when you feel it lock in, put your tape on there. Now we're only cutting this end. We've already cut this. So we're just going to place our plate over that top little portion where it hasn't been cut already. And we're going to run that through. Okay. And we're going to feel that catch. And there we go. And now we have the shortened die. Perfectly fits our sentiment. And we are now good to go. Okay. I tried the more messages and they were either just a tiny bit too short or a little bit too long or not quite tall enough or too tall. Okay, so we're going to take this and I'm going to take these. Let's see, how many can I get there? One. I'm going to take the edges of my dimensional sheet and I'm going to lay that down there. Remove that backing piece. And we're going to put this about here. And where do I want to go? Yeah, we're going to go about right here. I don't really want those to line up perfectly. I kind of want it to be, there we go, just like that. Okay, that'll work. Now I'm going to pull in the brand new 24 to 26 in color flat pearls. And at first I thought, oh, this doesn't have strawberry. This doesn't have those except for petunia pop. And I didn't want to use petunia pop. But guess what? The pretty in pink on here looks almost identical to Bubble Bath. So we're going to use the Bubble Bath, a small, a medium, and a large. And there we have it. There is our Sending Good Vibes card. Okay. Now for the inside of this card, I did the same thing I did on the last one, but this time I used petunia pop and the Bubble Bath, and then I used Daffodil Delight stamped off and Full Strength for the center, masked it, and used the Garden Green ink, and there we go. There is the second card. And now I have extra leaves I can save for another project. All right. I hope you liked those projects with the impressions of bloom tonight. Oh, good, Laura. I'm glad you liked that a lot. I struggled today. But I finally got it, and I'm pleased with how everything turned out. So let's go ahead and bring back in that first card. And here we have it. And there you go. Those are our projects tonight. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm glad you liked it. I hope you learned some tips and tricks tonight. You could run a piece of ribbon through here if you wanted to tie that, but I just didn't have anything that I thought looked nice enough. So I went with this because it's easier. All right. Take care, and I will see you next Tuesday, unless that's the 23rd or something and I have districts. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't look at the date. So I'll be out the 22nd and 23rd, I think, for district track meet. But other than that, I will be here, and I will see you all later. Thanks so much for joining me. Be sure to give me a like and share with all your crafty friends if you liked what you saw tonight. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Good night.